Questions you'd like to know about, interact with us.
But not too weird. Keep it not
totally weird.
Yeah.
So we're glad that you are so very willing to be a part of this tonight.
I'm not sure those are the right words.
So very willing to be a part of us at Coffee Convos. We'll make sure it's fun. It's going to be okay.
Sure it will be. We'll forget about the stress pacing that happened before this started.
Stress pacing. Were you up and down the hallway?
Yep. I got caught by Samuel Schubert.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Have you been doing some breathing exercises to
Yep.
prepare? How many days mentally have you been preparing for tonight?
Since Nathan told me about it.
And that is how long ago?
2 weeks.
So we're barely 2 minutes into this thing, and we already see a pretty good picture of...
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for your willingness to go on this fun 45-ish minute journey. So, tell us, Samantha Hinkle, who you are, how you got to who you are today, where you're from, a little bit of family history, all that kind of good stuff. Whatever comes to mind for you that gives us some history of who you are.
Okay, so I came from a big northern Italian family that was crazy and loud. I
love it already.
Yes, we're always together, eating meals, sharing food. That's what we do.
Cool.
About 6 or 7 years ago now, we moved to Tennessee. My grandparents retired, and we decided, hey, let's move down with them, which was kind of crazy and out there, and I'm slightly confused about my parents' decision without knowing people here. But I'm glad they made it.
Yeah.
So we've been here for about 8 years. And it's just been great and very different.
Different how?
Different how? Whenever I think of that, I think of my first experience in a southern grocery store. A
southern grocery store?
Yes.
That's a category unto itself, apparently, huh?
It is. I walked in and someone said, "You want a buggy?" And I'm like, "What's a buggy?" Like, I've never even heard of this thing.
They don't ask you if you want a buggy when you come in northern grocery stores?
They're called shopping carts, first of all. Buggies are little things on the ground that preschoolers call ants.
Yes.
Yeah. And the fact that someone talked to us, and then in the checkout line, they're like, "Would you like help out to your car?" No, we have working legs and arms. They're fine. Thank you.
It's a bit different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was an experience, but now I'm glad we're here and the people are welcoming and care about you in that way.
Yeah.
It's different.
I had a similar experience. It wasn't grocery store, but we were driving to and fro where we live to work or the grocery store or something, and I'd realize when I got off the main drag, as soon as I got onto side street where, was neighborhood, people would wave to you. Not just like if they're on the side of the road walking by, but if they're driving by, they would wave to me, and I'd be like, "Oh, hi." When we first got here, that was my version of that experience.
Yeah, no, the finger wave is a total thing too. That's absolutely Southern.
Sure.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
It is.
So, do you like Sam or Samantha?
Written, I like Samantha. Verbally, I have no preferences. People have always asked me, and they're like, "No, you have to care." I genuinely don't.
Cool.
As long as you don't call me Sammy Sue, that is off limits.
Sammy Sue it is. Cool, Sammy Sue. Is Sue a middle name?
No.
Oh, it's just
yeah, like my grandmother calls my mom Kendra Sue.
I love it.
It's just, we
Kendra
call everybody Sue.
Kendra Sue, Sammy Sue, Scotty Sue. So let's talk about Samantha Hinkle's personality. We've already seen a little bit of it the first 30 seconds into the convo. Would you say you are early or late in terms of the day? What part of the day you like? What do you more naturally like? Are you a sleep in, so you're a late party animal? You get up early? What do you like?
Well, I'm not a party animal.
You don't strike me as a crazy nut brain party animal.
Yeah, when I was going to go away to college, everyone was like, man, Samantha, you're going to go crazy.
Were they?
Not sure we're talking about the same person. Anyway,
True.
I am a late-ish person.
Oh, yeah?
I'm asleep by 10 most nights. However, afternoons are better than the mornings. Because if you talk to me in the mornings, no talking to me.
No talkie.
No talking.
No,
and I can't even have coffee, so it's just like, don't talk to me for extra
You can't
long.
have coffee because of EDS?
No,
Or just 'cause of
other health
other
things.
stuff?
Yeah, heart things. Heart and coffee don't mix. I
Ah.
don't heart coffee.
You don't heart coffee because of heart
coffee.
stuff.
Yes.
We'll talk about EDS later for those of you who have no clue what we're saying. So we already have a question.
Oh, is it from my family?
It might be. It might be. We'll save up some of those, but we're already getting some. So.
Oh, I'm sure you are.
Yeah. So you're not like get up early and attack the day, and you're okay. Are you an extrovert or an introvert?
Introvert.
Introvert for sure.
Absolutely.
So
100%.
So this 45-minute convo with the whole world watching us live.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, many dozens at least.
Yeah. Way to stress me out, Scott.
Is itself something that's going to feel a little bit draining for you?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah.
And is that part of why you said ever since we asked you a couple weeks ago, you've been thinking about it? Is that part of the same dynamic for you?
Yeah, it takes a lot out of me to do things out of my normal routine.
Yeah. So this feels out of your comfort zone.
Yes.
Awesome.
I like my bubble. My bubble is safe. This is outside of my bubble. But
Yes.
outside of the bubble is where the magic happens.
Yes. Your mom has a cool thing about, here's the comfort zone. This is where the magic happens.
Oh, yes. I hear about it all the time.
Yes. So personality for you is, my bubble is my world that I can, what? What is it about that for you that defines the comfort or whatever that is for you? Because we all, there's nothing weird about that.
Yeah,
But
no, it's
we
just
all have,
my safety zone. It's like I talk to my people. I have a specified group of people. Yeah, like this is a good example. I've been to 2 residence meetings. My first one, I said nothing. My second time, I said one thing. And then next week, I'll say 2 things. See how I build up like that? It just takes me a while.
Yeah.
Like my comfort zone is so safe. I'm slowly getting out of it.
So, what for you, in preparation for tonight, were things that you were doing to make sure you were ready or felt okay with it?
Yeah, it was just a lot of thinking, like at the Christian bookstore where I work.
Yeah.
Candace and I, my coworker, we do lots of Facebook Lives. So I was just kind of running through the preparation of like what that was like. Like, okay, it's going to be slightly different, but kind of the same.
So you were acclimating yourself based on
right,
things
past
like this
experiences.
you've done. Right, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good stuff. Which speaks to you being a preparer,
Yeah.
being ready, thinking things through thoroughly.
Yep.
Getting your highlighter colors in the correct places.
They have to be. And no gaps in between. You have to go through again with the skinny line.
And they all have to have the caps like facing the same way.
Absolutely.
And for me, it would need to be like the part that goes, the clip.
The clippy part?
The clip has to be on one side or the other. I hope this is making any sense at all.
No,
and why are we
I'm
talking
following.
about this? Yes, but like, because if it's straight up, then they're going to bend and get messed up if they press against something else.
It matters.
It does matter.
It matters.
Let's get these things straight. So I'm speaking your language a little bit.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I have an organizer on the back of my door, a section for colored pencils, a section for highlighters, a section for erasers, and I have one called sticky things. Sticky things. Like tape and lint rollers, and yeah, I'm super organized. And
do you have an organizer for your organizer for your organizer?
I mean, I wish I was that put together, but I would like to.
That's awesome. I actually, my life is fairly unmanageable compared to what it could and should be. But for years, I was very fastidious about all of those kinds of things, and in my head, I lived that way. In practice, it's not that way hardly at all, unfortunately.
It's good to feel like that, though. Like, man, it kind of makes sense a little bit.
So would you say you are more a thinker or a feeler?
Thinker.
Thinker. Really?
Feelings make me uncomfortable.
So is that part of the preparation?
I think
and
so.
the readiness, so you have to think it through because you're worried about the feelings?
Yeah, so part of it comes from my lack of ability to communicate my own feelings, which is something I've been working on. Because I'm like immediately shut down, don't communicate anything. People call me a pressure cooker because then like a tiny little thing sets me off and I explode for like the pencil being on the wrong side. Like the pencil label, like the highlighter clip thing.
Yeah.
So
what does that explosion look like for Samantha Hinkle?
I would like to think.
You go off on a crazy cussing storm of screaming.
That's right. No. My voice just gets really, really high. Okay. So when I think I get louder. I'm not sure if I actually do, but I definitely get higher.
Yeah. So we often ask people if they're a fighter or a peacemaker, and I'm pretty sure you're not the fighter part.
Oh, no. I'm ready to throw down.
You are?
No.
Not. That. So are you more silly or serious?
Ooh.
That's a hard one, I think.
It is a hard one. I would say more serious, I guess.
Really?
Yeah. I'm all about being silly, but when it comes down to it, like when I'm alone in my room, am I going to be silly or serious with myself? I'm going to be serious with myself.
Yeah. What have been, for you, some experiences in your life that have shown you, because we're talking about personality traits and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What are some things where you experienced something and you went, oh, this is me? Or you saw something in somebody else and you identified with it, and it was a moment, or someone like that you've looked at and you've gone, oh, I identify with that. For me, at your age, part of me learning how God's made me and what my gifts are, what my personality traits are like, and understanding who I am was identifying things in others. Have you seen that for you?
In certain aspects. So I haven't found a person that's like has all the things. It's like this person has A, this person has B, this person has C.
Yeah.
So my person A, even though they're no better than all the other people, they just start with we'll go with A, is Sonia. Sonia Higgs is my, she is like passionate, hardworking, and that's something, like I get focused on something and I'm like, let's totally do this thing really, really well.
So that's something about you that you identify with,
yes.
that she is like. Yeah, that's good.
Person B would be Alicia Gorley, and we'll do Emily Ford. Just the whole organization, like let's give everything a system.
Yeah, highlighters facing the right way.
Yes, let's make it all work. And I'm not sure I have a person C, even though I said C.
Well, those were 3 people.
Okay. We'll go with
we'll
that.
make B and C the same thing, same people. That's interesting. So we already have a few million questions.
Oh. Should I be nervous?
No, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome, Sammy Sue. Your grandmother is wondering, what is your favorite childhood memory?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
My favorite childhood memory was when my uncle came to so my grandparents lived at the bottom of a hill and we lived at the top of the hill, so we were kind of like a commune. Okay. We still are today.
Yes.
But anyway, the whole family would come over and we would all go down to my grandparents' house for holidays like Christmas and Easter and whatever. Yeah. So my uncle came over and he brought Max a go-kart. And this is just my favorite story. So all the cousins were having so much fun driving around in the go-kart, me being very safe about it, of course. Um, and I just remember we had this parking lot near us, and we would go down there and drive. And Max tried to do a donut. So 6-year-old Max is trying to do a donut
Nice.
in a go-kart that doesn't have walls without a helmet on.
Yes.
And it flips over.
And how much older than Max are you?
2 years and 8 months.
So you're 8.5 or
Okay,
so,
yeah,
watching your
something like
6-year-old brother.
fall over. Tip a go-kart over.
Yes.
Yes. And I just remember this, and it will be stuck in my mind forever, how fast my mom kicked off her shoes and ran. I've never seen her run like that, and I don't think I ever will again. So
Kendra going to, Mama Bear going to save her little cub.
Yes.
That's
He only
awesome.
ended up with a wrist brace, though. So, but that's just something that's like always in my mind, forever and ever, endlessly.
That's good. That's good. Were you, as the older sister, who wasn't trying to do donuts, and you named off like 4 or 5 things that there weren't walls, he was going fast, he didn't have a helmet.
Yeah.
At that age, were you thinking and feeling that kind of thing?
Yeah. So when I was little, Mom was very safety conscious.
Uh-huh.
So she raised us to be hyper aware of the things that were happening around us.
Yeah.
So, like, there's no helmet. Like, we had to wear a helmet till we were 13 in our utility vehicle that we drive around the farm. And just things like that. Jesus made it different. Right, she's different now.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
in the past, it was very, like, be aware of everything that's happening all the time.
Yeah.
So now I'm still aware of everything that's happening all the time.
Yeah. I've heard your mom talk about that dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
That's good stuff. I remember the first Sunday you came to FCC, says Beth Ann.
Oh, I don't even remember that.
What was your first impression of all of us?
I thought you were a bunch of weirdos.
Bunch of cultic crazy people?
Yes.
Did you really?
I did. I just remember being in worship and people raising their hands and being like, what on earth is happening here?
Which here isn't like it's half the people or anything. It's
right.
just
I'm like, are they asking
some.
questions or something? Like, what's happening?
That's the best. That's the best. These
Yeah.
crazy people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you were a little weirded out.
Yes.
Do you remember anything else about that day or the first few times here, or?
Not a whole lot, honestly.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Um,
You were an interesting bunch of people to walk into.
This question says, I'm curious about what was the biggest culture shock now moving into and being a part of Christian culture?
Ooh, that's interesting. For me, it's probably the community of people I was around. Because when I was in Massachusetts, it was the people were very, the people here are focused, but they're just focused on different things.
Uh-huh.
So, like, the people my mom were even around then were very, like, safety conscious and aware, and even little Samantha picked up on that.
Yeah.
But the people here are just, like, so different. I don't know how to explain it, but there's just, it's a different vibe.
Are there any other things about being a part of Christian culture? And I don't just mean like East Tennessee, but when you came to Tennessee, would you say you were a Christian?
No.
Okay.
The first time or the second time? Both answers are no. Never
Okay.
mind. Never mind.
Sounds good. Because you were baptized 2 weeks ago, you became a Christian here in East Tennessee. You've been a part of us here at First Christian for
5-ish years?
I was going to say 5 or 6.
Yep.
Okay. What has been the biggest, I think the word was shock. Yeah. Biggest culture shock about being a part of church and Christian community versus the world? Or the biggest difference? Or the biggest surprise or thing that's different than you thought it would be? or looking back?
Okay.
Yeah. You're like, okay, I got it, Scott. Stop talking.
No, it's fine. You're good. Worship was not what I thought it would be.
Okay.
What it all loops back to. We moved from Massachusetts, Tennessee, lived in Tennessee for 6 months, and moved to North Carolina for 2 years.
That's right.
When we were in North Carolina, we went to one church.
Okay.
Once. It was weird. Weird people. Anyway, they only sang from hymn books. I thought that's what church was. That's what I grew up in.
Sure.
So coming here and having the hand-raising, contemporary Christian was very different than what I was expecting. And
Lyrics
I think,
on screen with like...
Yes, like actual...
graphic-y kind of...
Yeah, like not a projector... Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just very different than I think what my community of people that I was around perceived it. Not that the second graders I was in class with were talking about the hymnals in church. But, yeah.
Granted.
I feel like...
That's an important point, perhaps, there. That's good. That's so good. I'm pretty sure I know the answer to a couple of these questions coming up here soon, but
okay.
Is the Container Store your favorite store?
Yes.
Duh.
Of course.
Yeah. That's a good question. I'm so excited that you were baptized. What led you to take that important step?
Okay. So it's been something I've been ready to do for a while.
Yeah.
I mentioned it to my small group like a year ago and just never did anything about it. But my grandfather came up to me and said, "Hey, I'm thinking about getting baptized. Would you want to do that together?" And I'm like, "Yes, let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's make it a family thing."
Yeah.
It was very cool. And
Yeah.
I'm glad I got to do that with him.
It was super cool. Good stuff. And I think when you say you were ready, whatever, a year, year and a half ago?
Yeah.
You were ready to publicly say that? Is that what you mean?
Yes. I mean, it takes some build-up. Like, me coming on here takes some build-up. Before I do something, I, like, have to prepare myself.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And that's not bad or weird.
Right.
That's good.
Right.
And we're talking about taking a step of faith in Christ and declaring that publicly.
Yeah.
And that baptism showing, I understand who Jesus was, what the gospel is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think many easily just kind of assume, oh, yeah, I'm doing the right thing because baptism's a good thing, and without even like talking and thinking it through.
Right. And that's something I can
clearly
say I've done because I spent 5 years thinking it through.
Yeah. Good stuff. So what is, this gets at something some folks may not know, that you are involved pretty heavily here at Kidsmen.
Oh, yes.
What has been your best method to de-escalate a misbehaving child? And how does that tie in with your experience as older sister to Max? I'm just kidding. No.
Okay, let's stick with the first one. Separation is big.
Yeah.
So,
good.
like, separating and redirecting is helpful. Like, okay, why don't you take your anger, we'll go over here and we'll build a Lego tower in the corner that you can then knock down and take out that frustration.
Yeah. I want to go build a Lego tower.
With the Duplo blocks, though, not those
down.
tiny little Legos.
That's so good. That's so good. And then the second part of the question: how has been the life of a big sister helped prepare you for Kidsmen?
Ooh, I'm gonna share something about Max. I'm not sure he's gonna want me to. Max has ADHD. He struggles with that.
So do I.
Yes, and so I learned a lot of how to deal with kids who have those kind of struggles, like ADHD. Watching my mom, things like that.
Do the same thing and de-escalating
Yes.
and deal with him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Dealing with one-on-one rather than a group, because the whole group doesn't need it. This one child needs it.
Yeah. That's good. That's so good. You're so good at taking my crazy questions and making them
Oh, thank you.
serious. And
Not silly.
This is so good. It's awesome how God's using you and using the being aware of what's happening around you trait that your mom shaped in you, and such a valuable trait in the way you serve Jesus. You are so aware of others, aware of needs, willing to faithfully serve. God's using you for great things, and we are glad you're part of FCC. Boom.
That was such a nice comment, whoever
Yes, it
wrote
was.
that.
I'm not going to tell you.
It's okay.
Tommy Staggs.
There's Tommy Staggs.
Yeah. So good.
We're buds.
So good. So what do you do in life with job and vocation and volunteering and yes?
Okay. So I work part-time at the Christian Bookstore.
Christian Bookstore and
Christian Book and Gift Shop.
and
I'm
gift
sorry.
shop. Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I have more than just books, which people don't realize. People are like, "Oh, I have plenty of books. I don't need to go to the Christian Bookstore." And I'm like, "No.
Oh, there's a lot of other stuff.
You do.
Yeah.
Come look. You
Yeah.
just don't know it yet."
Including highlighters.
That's right. So many
Lots
highlighters.
of Bible highlighting.
Yes, but Z-Brights are the best because they're
Utensils.
like actual highlighters and not those weird gel things that come off on the page. I have lots of highlighter opinions. We don't want to get into that.
Meaning that they don't bleed through the Bible pages?
Well, all of them
or-
don't bleed through, but it's like a crayon. They're called gel highlighters,
Uh-huh.
and I am not a fan of them
Okay.
because one of my Bibles, I did a crazy thing where one of them didn't have red lettering, so I went through with a pink highlighter and highlighted everything.
You are crazy.
I am crazy.
I love it. That's insane.
I know.
How long did that take you?
A while.
We're going to use this clip later on. This is going viral. You are insane. How many hours did that take?
A lot.
Like
But
approximately 25.
it was a few years ago. I honestly, we'll go with 25.
It's
Just for
got to
shock
be closer to
value.
25. You are crazy.
So I went.
Was that therapeutic, or did it reinforce your crazy?
It slightly reinforced my crazy.
Yeah.
However, through that, I was able to try a lot of Bible highlighters and realize that Z-Brights are the best, so I just saved you all a bunch of time.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now you're going to go buy some highlighters.
Now I'm going to look at every time that my Bible has red lettering and go, I can't even believe she went through every single passage.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What's your favorite part about working at the Christian Bookstore and gift shop?
Honestly, the people I get to work with. Candace and Sonia are amazing people. Candace has turned into one of my best friends.
Cool.
Sonia is like my mentor-ish friend person. She plays a lot of different roles. She baptized me on Sunday, however many weeks ago.
Yeah.
So they've just been there for me in a super helpful way.
Yeah.
And I love them a lot.
Yeah. So good.
And Jen works there too. I just don't see Jen as often. So we'll acknowledge her.
Gotcha. Yep. Do you want to talk about Bibles?
Oh, of course I do.
What do you want to talk about with Bibles? Because you like Bibles.
I do.
You're kind of a Bible expert.
I
You're becoming kind of a Bible expert.
Thank you.
Yes.
Not on what's inside, just, yeah.
We're
getting
you're
there.
becoming there, yeah. What's your favorite version? Why?
Okay. My favorite version is the NET. It's called the New English Translation.
Yeah.
It's similar to an ESV in that it's more of a word for word. However, it pulls in some thought for thought stuff that makes it easier to understand.
Yeah.
Because when I'm on my own reading the Bible, I'm like, oh gosh, if I'm reading an ESV, I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
just having that.
It's a little bit like an ESV with a smidge of Amplified thrown in here and there.
But without the parentheses. The parentheses would drive me crazy.
Some of the Amplified stuff makes me a little nutso. But I appreciate what they are trying to do with it.
Yes.
Do y'all sell much NET?
No.
I wouldn't think so. It's not very popular.
It's not.
Among very many people.
I show it to everybody. Nobody wants it.
Really?
Yeah.
What I like also, though, is the textual notes, because it tells you, it helps validate the text itself in ways people don't realize is there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that's just nerdy stuff that weird people like you and me think is cool in Bibles. We should probably not talk about this too much more, because most folks are going to be like,
They're going to click off.
NET, what are you talking about? ESV. Any other interesting, helpful, cool Bible tidbits for us to talk about? What don't you like? What versions don't you like?
KJV.
You're a heretic. You know better to say that out loud.
I haven't honestly read the KJV.
You didn't grow up on the KJV.
Yeah.
Like most of us around here, or yeah.
Yes. I'm not sure the KJV version bothers me as much as the KJV people can get to me sometimes.
Because that's
not that all KJV people are bad, but some are very vocal about their opinions in
about
unhelpful
KJV
ways.
being the only real one in their minds. Yeah. Do you all? What would be the most popular that you sell?
KJV.
Number 2.
NIV.
Okay.
NLT.
NLT 3.
Mm-hmm. And then ESV.
Then ESV. Then like
CSB.
NASB, all the rest kind of under that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
CSB is pretty popular.
It's becoming pretty popular.
CSB is my favorite thought for thought.
Yeah, it's a pretty good one. Okay, we should probably move on. Lest everybody else.
I'm so comfortable in this topic, though, Scott.
I am too. I think it's really interesting stuff, but very few of us like you and I and Sonia Higgs would think that all that's very interesting. So let's talk about the relationship with God and ministry and all that good stuff.
Okay.
So, what do you like most about kids men and be involved in ministry at church?
Kids.
And why does it suit you and why do you do it?
Yeah. Kids just have a special place in my heart. All kids do. Preschoolers have an extra special space. I like to say kindergarten is when they get sassy and then they move up. I can't handle them anymore, but I still love them.
We do still have to love.
Yes, love all the children.
From
I'll talk to you again when you graduate high school, but
okay.
That's yeah. Right. Yeah. So I'm the mean rule enforcer teacher. So that plays into my whole systems thing. Is like I have a system for everything. So I run the Monday night preschool ministry thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, whenever you take your shoes off, they go on the wall. We go up the stairs and down the slide. You do not run down the slide. You sit on your bum and go down the slide. You do not stand in your chair. You sit in your chair. No coloring on the table. Keep the toys in the toy area. And everyone else is like, fun game time, which is fine. Fun game time is needed. But I am the mean rule enforcer.
Yeah.
They love me. They really do.
I feel like I've been breaking your rules just now. I promise I will sit on I won't
Your
stand.
toys are in the toy area. You haven't crossed the line.
So, kind of good kid men stories of late? Any good moments with kids or crazy things they've said in class recently? Or?
Yeah. So, in our Monday nights, recently we had one of our kids in heels on the swing, and a toddler walk by and get kicked in the head by her heels. He's fine, but I enjoy that story. He was fine. He got up and he's like walked it off, and I'm like, oh my goodness.
I'm gonna have to fill out a report. Oh no.
Samantha, safety Samantha. Well, call me Samantha Safety from now on.
That's good.
No, but I was like
Safety
freaking
is
out.
good with our kids. We want it.
Yes, and then this past Monday, which is something I consider a huge win, was that every kid who was in my class left showing their parents the memory verse.
Boom.
And I'm like, yes.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's a big win.
It is.
Absolutely it is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And, the parents saw that the kids learned something. Yeah, of course that's helpful. Because we want the parents to reinforce that stuff and to be aware that they're learning.
Right.
Which is super helpful, of course. But what's helpful is those kids went away, this is the word of God, I've heard this, and I'm saying this, and it's in me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's absolutely the win. So good. So good. Anything else about kids men you'd like to say? Because we have a couple questions related to all that is like favorite parts about serving in kids men.
Preschoolers.
Yeah.
No offense, all other kids. I love you too.
Well, That means you don't really like any of my 3 kids anymore, but thanks.
Sophie and I are cool. She's graduated.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Ooh, that's a good question that I don't know the answer to. I have learned in my life not to make plans.
Why is that?
Because my plans don't usually work out, first of all. But my health things can tend to get in the way, so I make short-term plans. So even though I would love to be like a long-term planner, that's just not something I can functionally do.
Yeah. You want to unpack that a little more?
Yes.
And give us a bit of specifics by what you mean by that?
Yes. So my most recent diagnosis is something called hypersomnia. So most people are like awake, asleep. Like that's how they function. My brain kind of goes like this and switches between awake and asleep. So I'm always in this in-between state, which makes me quite tired all the time.
Is that part of the I don't wake up early and it takes me a while?
Possibly.
Maybe.
I think it's more related to the fact that I take so many naps. I nap quite a lot.
But you need to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To function through my day.
I didn't know about the hypersomnia part.
That's new.
Huh.
My other things, we won't go through all of them in depth. My other big one is postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, which we call POTS.
Okay.
It's basically gravity doesn't like my body. So, like, I will stand up, all my blood will go to my feet, and my heart will beat really, really fast and be like, okay, Samantha, you have no blood anywhere, and it'll send signals to my brain. And my brain will go, oh my gosh, there's no blood anywhere, and then it makes me get tunnel vision and make me feel like I want to pass out and stuff like that. So it just makes everyday life, like sitting and standing and things like that, a little bit harder.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have to drink lots of water, crazy amounts of water, and eat lots of salt.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I've looked up some
sodium.
POTS things before.
Yep.
When I first learned about this. But I didn't realize how much of that kind of stuff is everyday activity stuff for you. So between hypersomnia, POTS, EDS, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, that is all in the equation of I can't really answer about 5 years.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't like having to think in the short term, but that's kind of how I have to do it.
You've had to adjust
your
thinking?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because, like, I don't know if I'm going to have enough energy to get all my college credits in the frame that I'm thinking.
Right.
So I have to pick and choose what's important to me and go off that.
Yeah. I imagine that for you, being a Christian, having Jesus now, makes that manageable, different, copable, easier than it otherwise would have been.
Yep.
Absolutely. And what for you do you think is different related to all this physical stuff for you now as opposed to before? And some of this stuff is new, of course, so you didn't know about it so much before. How do you think the old Samantha would have been dealing with this stuff more recently?
Not well. Old
How
Samantha would not have dealt well. I would have shut down. I would be spending most of my time in my room because I'm like, I don't feel like I can function today, so what's the point in trying?
It's all let's go inward and isolate.
That's my immediate thing. But I'm like, okay, hold on. There's godly people around you. Go out. You don't need to be everything. You can just be what you can be today. Yeah. And that's okay.
So good. So good. So good and so mature for your young age. Favorite vacation spot?
Ooh. I mean, my go-to is always Disney, of course. Unmasked Disney.
Of course. Yeah. So are you a Disney fan?
I am. We went when we were in Massachusetts, so it's been a while. I just remember, this was another one of my favorite childhood memories. Cool. Was that, so we had the 2 houses, the bottom and the top, and one night must have been like 4 or 5 in the morning, my grandparents came up, And we came out and we just looked up and there were all these stars and it was so pretty. And then a limousine pulled up and we all got in the limousine and we all drove to the airport, got in a plane, big plane, and went to Disney and had like the all-you-can-eat pass, and it was super cool.
Yeah.
My grandparents are a little bit rich. Just a little bit.
Listen to you. Listen to you. That's out there for everybody to hear, for the record. The limousine isn't anything particularly fancy.
No.
A lot of people
It's
go to
just
the airport in a
normal.
limousine. They actually do. A lot of those companies use limousines for that kind of stuff all the time in the bigger cities.
Yeah.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs. Is that even a question?
Not
that
even a
needs to be
question.
asked? No.
I'm anti all pets anyway, but why dogs, not cats?
Cats are mean and temperamental.
In particular.
Yes. And dogs are loyal, love you forever.
Okay, all right. Do you remember when all the talk about Jesus as Savior and Lord started making sense to you as real and true?
Someone asked me a question like this the other day. It wasn't a particular moment for me. It's kind of been a gradual thing over time of just, like, I call myself an information sponge. So I just, like, take in information all the time.
Yeah.
But I don't process through it. So it's just a gradual process for me. Processing through. A process of processing through the information.
That's a lot of processing.
It's a lot. My brain is always going.
Cool. Tell us about the Bible customization app that you'll create one
Oh,
day.
yes. So Candace and I are one day going to create a Bible app that is going to be like, okay, I want the study notes from this, I want the margins from this, I want the red lettering, I want this translation, I want this cover. Because so many people come in and they're like, this is exactly what I want. I'm like, well, I don't have that, but here's the next best thing. So I just want to be able to give people...
So the app will do all of the customization you want.
Right. And then
The
someone
text of the
will do
Bible
it.
will stay the same. But the
based on
version...
the version changes. And the study notes or margins or lines or
the size
artwork.
of the font.
Yes.
Things you can use to highlight, etc.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just love that. I love Bibles. I love helping people find the perfect Bible. It's one of the favorite parts of my job.
That's a lovely note on which to end.
Oh.
Because
lovely.
that's a cool way to think about, obviously your job, but what you're doing is you're helping people get the Word of God.
Yeah, I get to be this small part of their story and help them get this thing that's going to be a much bigger part.
Yeah. So good. So good. Thank you for joining us, y'all, for Coffee Convos. Thank you for preparing yourself mentally and emotionally for the last 2 weeks.
Oh, well, thank you for having me and letting me emotionally prepare.
Yes, we are here for your growth, Samantha Hinkle.
I am here for my growth. That's why I am sitting in this chair.
Boom. That's good. So good.
We clinking?
Clinking.
Clink.
Join us next week.
Ooh.
As we